Hey, good morning, everyone. Morning warm up. Today I was listening to a podcast called Magic Lessons by Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote the book Big Magic, and she was just talking about vulnerability, and it kind of dawned on me a little bit. So when we do our coaching and also when we do our 4-day ninja installations, there's a day towards the end of those 4 days where we have people basically do what's called a vivid imagination exercise. And what they do is they allow their mind, heart, and soul to just pour out onto a page. And they really write a letter as if it was a year from that day. And they really explain to somebody, and they pick somebody, and they just kind of say, here is how my life unfolded in that year. So they kind of get in a time machine, so to speak. But then the real reason for my warm-up today isn't about the vivid imagination of that exercise. The real reason is about what Elizabeth was talking about, is how many of us are willing to be vulnerable to allow others to shine. And what I mean by that is we are all humans. We all have chinks in our armor. We all are struggling in some way, some capacity in our lives. And when we let that out, right, when we express that to the world, what it does is it opens up others to want to help us, others to identify with us, others to say, hey, me too. And so the interesting part is I can have a room of 100 adults, and they can all write their letter, and then I'll say, is somebody willing to read their letter to the room? And that level of vulnerability becomes very scary. And it becomes very scary because now all of a sudden you have to speak this feeling that you just put out on a piece of paper. And a couple things come from it. Number one is that fear is normal. That's what happens. But the thing of it is that the fear happens for a couple reasons. First reason is maybe what you wrote, you don't truly believe, right? And you haven't surrendered to the idea that can happen and that will happen. That's number one. Number two is the fear of ridicule or being compared or being judged, right? And so, well, what if I read it and it's not as great as somebody else's? Or what if I read it and somebody makes fun of me? Or what if I read it and I feel bad after I read it? And that's all about you. So the point in this podcast that I listened to this morning was just about how many of us, if we want something, how many of us are willing to put it out into the world and let people know and say, hey, you know what, this is what I want, because the world wants you to win, and people are wired to help, but they can't help if they don't know, right? They can't help if they don't know. So the reason why I bring this up is here we are, halfway through 2022. How many of you have articulated and voiced and said or shared in your circle of friends, your reference group, in your families or whatever, what it is you want to accomplish and where you want to go? And are you vulnerable about it and saying, here's what I know I can do, here's where I'm challenged, and here's where I need help? And I'll tell you what, if you will do that, if you'll figure out a way to make that happen and be able to vocalize that, it's amazing the people that show up in your life that want to help you, right? It's amazing. They're just waiting. They're out there waiting for you to say something, right? So think about that. All right, everybody, hey, be awesome, help somebody, and go out and get vulnerable. You'll help other people shine. All right, talk to you later.